You're listening to the HOLO Health Podcast with Alex Cottingham and Trevor Deal. We know that health is hard and confusing, primarily because we lived it. It's part of our story, and we struggled for years until we discovered a better way. On this podcast, we cut through the noise of culture, talk about health the way God designed it, and how you can pursue it. If you're a Jesus follower who cares about your health, then you're in the right place. Get ready for the tangible and actionable steps to build a body, mind, and soul that you're proud of, or as we like to say, so that you can become truly healthy. Let's dive into the show. Welcome back to another episode of the HOLO Health Podcast. I'm Trevor, one of your hosts, joined by my co-host, Alex Cottingham, and we're going to be diving straight into the topic of conversation today, and it's all around activity outside of the gym, moving often. And the reason is because moving often is one of our 7 habits of health. It's a foundational piece to a truly healthy life. And I want you to hear this as we get started. When we say move often, we're not talking about exercise often. And we're not even actually truly talking about exercise. We're talking about what you do primarily throughout the day, how you move your body. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why that's important from a physical health standpoint, and then also apply it to your mental and spiritual health as well. We're going to look at the life of Jesus and talk about why we can see that it was important for Jesus to move often. And then we're just going to talk about practically how can you get more activity in your day. All going to be in this short episode. And to kick us off, I want Mr. Alex Cottingham himself to just share how you're doing. How you doing, sir?
I have a bright yellow shirt on today, and I feel like the color of my shirt. Today's been a great day.
Come on.
Productive, purposeful, fun. Been able to work out, been able to get some stuff done. I haven't seen my family or kids yet, so I'm going to see them after this. But today's been full of a lot of good things, so I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good. Alex, I want us to start this conversation just like I mentioned, and to kind of really paint a clear picture on what do we mean move often and why that's important for each area of our health. You want to lead the charge here?
Yeah, I always like to start these conversations with God's design of health. Like, you learn so much about health in Genesis 1, 2, and 3. That really is the biblical worldview and framework. It makes sense of so much of life and struggle and pain and relationship. Um, so when you look at the narrative, God said, I put man in the garden to subdue the earth, to rule the earth. He gave him a job to name all the animals, to tend to the garden. And what we can infer from that is that we were designed to move, not just in the commands of Scripture, but also just in our joints and our bodily systems and the way my shoulder works and the way I can able to extend my leg and sit in a chair. It's like when you look, it's called the teleological view of something, where the function supports, or the design supports the function. Like fish have scales and fins, birds have wings to support what they were supposed to do. So their design supports what they're put on this planet for, God's design. So when you look at our teleological view, or our telos, whatever, is look at our legs, look at our arms, look at the way we're able to extend. Some joints have a lot of mobility and not as much stability, like our shoulders and hips, and other joints have a lot of stability and very little mobility, like our vertebrae. So it's just God created this really intricate system to be able to express it and move. So then the question becomes why? Well, one, you look at Genesis, that we are designed to bring order from chaos, that there's entropy, that the world is constantly just devolving, and we as Christians are meant to be the light and meant to bring order because God is a ruler and we're to co-rule with him. But then also it's a practical way that we can love other people better. We can use our actual body to meet the needs of the people around us, and that is the New Testament ethic, to love one another as Jesus Christ has loved us, and we can do that through having freedom with our body and aligning it with the design that we find. So that's just me riffing initially about this.
Yeah, No, it's important to come back to the foundation of like we're looking at God's design of health. We're not just pulling, specifically why you should move your body outside of whatever form of exercise you do or if you exercise at all. And just like I mentioned, I want to look at the life of Jesus. And the reason this is important, listeners, is because if you're a listener, I hope you follow Jesus. If you don't, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation about Jesus, the good news, the gospel, the way it has changed both of our lives, and then the way it impacts your health. But if you're a listener, I'm willing to bet that you follow Jesus, which means you want to pursue the life that he is inviting you into. You want to be obedient into the way he's calling us to live. And a part of that is becoming more like him. That is, like, most simply put, our goals is to become more like Jesus. And if we look at the life of Jesus, he was never physically unable to meet the demands of moving from place to place. There was no car. There was no what do they call those things? One wheel, Alex. I think you have a one wheel. There are
I do have
no
a one wheel.
exactly. There are no scooters or birds or anything of that nature. Yeah, there were birds, but not the bird scooters.
Birds.
Um,
Good night. Oh, those
yeah,
scooters.
yeah, yeah. The scooters. I think they're a new name now, but I'm not hip. But Jesus walked on foot from place to place, but he had the physical capacity to do so. And so again, we can look at the life of Jesus and say, well, if he needed the physical capacity to meet the demands of life or to be obedient to where the Spirit was leading him, don't we also need that? In conjunction with that, listeners, you want to be a healthy weight. We know you do. If you're listening to the podcast, you care about your health, which means you care about your physical health, the way you look in the mirror, the way you're stewarding your body. And physical activity outside of the gym throughout the day is a huge factor in the stewardship of your weight. It influences your weight in conjunction with your nutrition. But specifically in this episode, we're talking about activity. So we just want to start the episode with that because culture will tell you you should do a lot of things, but a lot of it comes from a place of shame or expectation or a motivation to manipulate your body image. We want to start with the design because the design, just like Alex said, supports the function. And if our goal is to live out this world the way God intended and to be obedient, then we have to look at the life of Jesus and we have to look at the way he intended it to be. Now,
Okay, Trevor, before we take that transition, I literally was looking this up as you're talking, so I wasn't listening for the past 30 seconds. I'm just telling all the
I'm
listeners.
offended.
But this is fascinating when you were talking about how Jesus literally walked from foot to foot. So we, as part of the HOLO collective in our community, we're going through Mark, right? And it's interesting to look at the life of Jesus and how he literally went from city to city, right? Walking,
Pause.
carrying his load,
Pause.
probably more like rucking.
If you're a if you're a new listener, the collective is our membership that supports Jesus followers through resources and coaching and a community to become truly healthy in every area. Go ahead.
Right. So he started his ministry in Capernaum, and then he kind of went to a bunch of cities, eventually made his way down to Jerusalem. So as you were talking, I was like, I wonder how many miles, the distance. And no, granted, this is not in one day, but you're like making a multi-day journey, right? So he's
Right.
eventually making his way down there. So on my phone, as you're talking, Trevor, I literally Googled how far away is Capernaum from Jerusalem? Because he eventually made his way down there.
Right.
And it said it was 163 kilometers, which when you convert it is 101 miles. So literally, he made by foot 101 miles. It says on Google Maps that it would take 2 hours to drive or 41 hours walking. And then if you Google the average, how many average steps it takes for 1 mile, it says on average 2,000 steps per mile. So if you do 2,000 times 101 miles, that's 202,000 steps.
That's just one trip.
Not only that, but that's just carrying what's on your back too,
Right.
20 to 40, maybe 50 pounds of stuff. So it's easy to read the Gospels and just jump from, oh, he's in Capernaum, he's in Nazareth, now he's in Jerusalem. It's like, wait a minute, there are miles and miles and miles between these cities. So I just thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something we gloss over. I mean, Mark, we're reading through it right now, like you mentioned. He's not discussing the exact number of steps and mileage that Jesus put in, but we know he
Well,
put.
you know why? Because it was just commonplace.
Right.
Everyone did it.
Right.
Because they had the capacity to, and B, there wasn't the technology to actually get in a car. But because people were put in that demand, they could do it
Yeah.
because their body adapts, because that's what God's design is.
And I think it's important to mention here as Jesus followers, we are called to stand out. You want to know how you stand out in today's culture? Is you're an active individual. And I don't mean that you're working out all the time.
Yeah.
I don't mean that
Yeah.
you are every free moment that you have doing something active, because that's not balance. That's not true health. But it is living an active lifestyle. And here's why: because you're going to be at a healthy weight. You're going to be moving your body the way God intended you to be. Because you're active, you're going to be decreasing stress, and anxiety is going to be lower. You're going to be spending more time with people you love. You're going to be doing things that fill your cup up, and it's going to reflect in your life through these healthy habits. You will stand out just simply by being active, and that's just one area, right? If you want to stand out, that is the way to do it. Here's how to follow the trends of culture. Don't care about being active. Don't look to steward your body well the way the Lord asks us to, and Jesus invites you to. Your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit. That is a way to fit in with culture. We're called to stand out, to be set apart, to be a city set on a hill, a light, a lamp on a lampstand for people to see. So that this is not a point of shame, but this is a calling to a higher, a calling to a higher invitation that it comes for every area. But we as Jesus followers, we don't think about this in this way. And so we just want to encourage you to think about it. Wow, hey, a simple way for me to stand out without even opening my mouth is to steward my physical health well. And one way to do that is moving often. Now, for us at HOLO, before we dive into some of the practical ways you can get more, we're going to call it steps throughout the day, is we kind of set a foundation of like, okay, well, what is a measurable around the habit moving often that everyone can do, because we believe true health is applicable for all people in all ages. It differs in degree, not kind, which means it differs in the application per person, but that doesn't negate that people are designed to move often, whether you're 25 or whether you're 65. And so we came up with 8,000 steps a day on average. That's our threshold. We've done a ton of research. There's plenty of research in the 8 to 12,000 range. All of the health benefits that start to happen begin at that 8,000 marker. That is a doable amount, but it does require effort, because the average American individual gets 35 to 4,500 steps a day. So we're gonna talk about, Alex, how specifically, just simple ways that you can get more steps throughout the day, rather than, hey, I'm going on a 1 mile walk early in the morning to make sure I get my steps. If you want to do that, that's awesome. But not everyone has the capacity to do that in that fashion. So, Alex, anything you want to add in here before we dive into some of these practical advice pieces on getting more steps?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we're going to give you 5 different conversation pieces, just points on how you can get more steps. These are easy ways to get more steps, right? Each of these will require demand. It will require your effort. It will require a little bit of priority. But again, just like we mentioned, this is worth pursuing, especially if you have some sort of weight loss oriented goal. This is necessary. Even if you want to maintain a healthy weight, this is necessary. Okay. So moving often, a few different ways you can get more steps. The first is just going to be start early. And the simplest reason why is because, let's be honest, about 7:30, 8, 9 o'clock for most people, the demands of the day begin to set in. You've got emails coming through. You've got to be at work, whether it's at the office or at home online. You've got to get the kids to school. There's different demands that begin each and every day that typically start around that time of the morning. Like, obviously, there's individuals that it varies, but starting early allows you to get a jump on some of these rhythms without having outside influences or distractions kind of come into play. Obviously, that, there's some things that come into factor there about, preparing the night before, laying out some clothes. If you're going to take and go on a walk, take a water bottle in the morning. Maybe you got an elliptical, or you have a treadmill at the house because it's dark outside. You're going to walk on those, just kind of setting yourself up for success. But starting early is a super simple way. Hey, even if it's 5-10 minutes. This morning, I did exactly this. I had 10 minutes. I took 10 minutes, I grabbed my water bottle, hopped in the car, and I went to a breakfast that I was going to. So starting early, even if it's just a couple of minutes, will go a long way towards working, towards that daily goal of, 8,000 plus steps.
Love it. I don't know if I was supposed to respond or just let you keep going.
Yeah, Alex, would love for you to share a couple of practical ways as well.
I think one of the things that has been a game changer for me have been walking meetings that I try to set a precedent of like anytime we're going to have a one-on-one conversation that doesn't require some sort of note-taking or screen presence, we're going on a walk. Um, if it's a check-in, if it's just like a hey brainstorming session, we are going on a walk. Um, Another one are walking meetings, like I just said, but also walking and praying. That in the morning, like you said, and whether it's I'm just going on a walk, but I'll start praying too, or I'll start worshiping, so I'll spend time with Jesus. But almost like habit combinations, not really habit stacking, because that's like one habit leading to the next, but it's
Mhm.
like doing more than one at the same time. So how can I do this and walk? I mean,
Mm.
a lot of people will just check email and walk, or even they're going to make an Instagram post. It takes 30 minutes to kind of cultivate that and get that ready. Walk and do it. You don't need to sit down and do it.
Mm.
So many people are like, I just don't have enough time. It's like, well, look at your screen time, add some steps in there. I'm not saying get a treadmill in front of your TV. I'm saying go out in your neighborhood or around your building complex. And if you are passionate about posting or even just going on reels, like a lot of people will just scroll on TikTok or Instagram. Do that on a walk.
Yeah.
Like you can literally habit combo
Yeah.
these.
Yeah. Spot on, dude. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. You just combining these different things. The funny thing you mentioned there with the TV, one of the clients that I work with one-on-one through our coaching membership is getting a walking treadmill, the same one that I've got right here next to me. And he was like, dude, I'm going to put this in front of the TV. Kids are watching the TV. I'm just going to be standing there getting some steps in. I was like, let's go. That's what you want to do. I'm
Come on.
all for it. Yeah, just to reiterate, obviously, you kind of like mosey, or most people kind of mosey around, the kitchen or work or wherever when you're on the phone. Just go start walking. Like if you walk around the
Right.
office, like no one's going to be like, forget this guy. Obviously be cognizant and aware of like how loud you're talking and some of the environments and stuff. And there's definitely meetings that you can't do a walking meeting, right? We've got to have this presentation. We need to be in front of the screen. It's a client facing meeting. That's a no go. But there's definitely some,
That's different. That's fine.
right. But using discernment and asking people for advice there or for their willingness to do something like that. You just need to ask. A lot of people are like, yeah, let's do it. But you don't know till you ask. A couple of low key hitters that, man, I love these so much. If you did, I call this the personal insurance policy. That's not a personal insurance policy. I call the personal health insurance policy. Two things right here. Wherever you go, when you park somewhere, park further away. If you go to the grocery store, I go to the Aldi. Okay. Sometimes we go to Costco. Wherever I'm going, I'm parking, honestly, some of the furthest spots away I possibly can. And at first, Aaron was like, why are we doing this? Why can we not park this far away? And I was like, hey, these tend to be the most available parking spots because of Costco and just the way that works. But two, this is a personal health insurance policy. We're just getting a few more steps. Like this is a good thing for us. And now she's like, I totally get it. Let's do that. And the same goes for work. If you have a parking deck or if you have a parking lot, just park a little further away. All of these steps add up. So I think it really accumulates. If you think about these small implementation areas, the next one's going to be take the stairs. Listen, it goes a long way. You don't want to, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way. Here's a
Trevor, tell the people, tell the people about you taking the stairs every day.
Yes, I've been at my 9 to 5 job, which is a company called Ironwood, and it's commercial insurance brokerage. And I love it so much. It's awesome. And every day since I have started, I found out that there's a stairwell. And early on, I made the mistake of going up the stairwell, which cannot be entered in from the upward stance just because of the way the door is set up. But every day since, I have left the office and taken the stairs. And I go down in my car, maybe a couple times a day or go downstairs, those stairs, just to like go on a short walk outside or take a phone call during lunch or whatever. And it just adds up over time. And, people have asked and I'm like, hey, this is just the easy way for me to be more active without even trying. And, I've asked people to take the stairs with me and a few people have, and a few people are like, I'll just meet you down there. It's like, sounds good, dude. Um, and I think there's one thing that comes into this is like, hey, you're going to have opportunities because of these few different tips and ways to move often and get more steps throughout the day that that people are going to ask questions. And again, it comes back to the opportunity to shine the light. Hey, I just want to steward my health well. Why do you want to do that? Well, hey, I've just been given my health. It's a gift from the Lord. So he's asked me to steward my health well, and me moving my body, and it's part of that. Being active is part of that. From those are just a few different things, right? Just to kind of recap, starting early in the day, if you have the ability to do so, it's awesome. Obviously, before life's demands begin, walking meetings or walking phone calls. Again, two different things. A lot of time meetings are in person. And again, there's a couple, two little sneaky hitters of parking further away and taking the stairs when you can. Those are just a few easy, practical ways. You can literally start doing those today. And Alex, I would love to hear any additional thoughts you have on these items.
I would just add a few other small ones that come to my mind too.
Well,
Is this isn't like a thing to do, but it's a thing to have. I really enjoy wearables, whether it's a Fitbit, Apple Watch, Garmin. Whoop actually doesn't track steps, but the reason for that is because I don't know how many steps I'm at if I don't see my step count, and they're pretty accurate with technology now.
yeah,
If I know that I'm at 6,000 steps per day, I'm like, okay, hey, I gotta pick this up because I want to get my threshold of 8 or 10K. So it's just the topic of awareness, and it's just such an easy thing. Your phone does it too, but it's not super accurate because you don't carry your phone. You set it down sometimes.
right.
Um, for me personally, about 4 years ago when we moved into our house, I had to buy a lawnmower for the first time because I actually had a lawn to mow, and I intentionally bought a push mower that didn't have
Come
like
on.
the little self-propelled engine because I could have got a small riding lawnmower. One, it was more expensive, but two, I was like, this is just another way. Every time I mow my grass, I can get steps in to be active, and I
Yeah.
feel so good because I have the strength and physical body to do that. Um, I'm moving more. I'm getting more steps in. So that was just a decision that how true health impacted my everyday decisions. Um, Another one that I thought of is when you look for and join different leagues or clubs or groups,
Mm-hmm.
aim for more active
Yeah.
ones. Like, there's nothing wrong with a book club at all. My sister started one and it's awesome. It's growing and there's a place for that. I do book clubs and Bible studies where you go to a restaurant and just sit. That's another component of health that's important. But if I'm looking at the difference between a chess club and a pickleball group, I'm going to do pickleball because I'm going to get some steps in and be active. So
Right.
do something that's fun. Um, and the last thing that I love to do is have a literal travel buddy. Um, my wife Hannah had started walking before the kids wake up, and on Mondays and Fridays, one of our neighbors that she absolutely loves, she invited us like, "Hey, do you want to walk with me on Mondays and Fridays?" And she was like, "Absolutely, yes." So literally from like 5:30 to 6:30, just in the morning, they walk together and they talk, and it's one of the accountability piece. So I was like, "Well, I'm going to do this because I have a literal travel buddy."
Yeah.
And just the enjoyment. So there's the relational health component too. So get creative. It can look dozens and hundreds of different ways. But the last thing I would say, Trevor, as we wrap up, is the underlying tone here is you got to be intentional.
Right.
That's it. You got to be intentional. That's with everything true health. But the cultural undertow is too strong, and every environment primes us to sit, 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 sit. Sitting is the new smoking. It's the culturally acceptable behavior that everyone does, but it's silently hurting them. That if they just take easy, intentional steps forward, they can make a lot of progress.
Yeah, those are great additions in there, Alex. And I love how you hit the nail on the head as one of the things I wanted to mention as we're kind of wrapping up shop here is, yeah, this is going to help you improve your body composition and just be more active. And it's also going to help you mentally and emotionally reduce stress, to be able to process. You can not you can leave your phone at the house, go on a 10-minute walk and pray. So you're spending time with the Lord. You're nurturing your spiritual health. You just like you said, Hannah goes on a walk with a neighbor that's nurturing her relational health. You're playing pickleball with friends. This has an opportunity. Living an active life has an opportunity to impact each area of your health. And you're going to look better just by doing it. So why would you not want to do all of those things wrapped up into one? So listeners, again, we'll put some of these hitters in the show notes as well as some additional resources down there. If you're interested in continuing to learn how to move often, we've got those resources plugged down below. But Alex, that's all we've got for today. What do we always leave the listeners with?
Listeners, you're a legend. See ya.